Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Getting to Know Your Rights. This is part 6, but I'm going to fold 3 of the amendments into the Bill of Rights into this because they're all in the what happens when you get accused of a crime family thing going on. So what I mean by this is, let's see, the 6th Amendment guarantees a speedy public trial by an unbiased jury for criminal offenses, grants legal counsel for the accused, and asserts that witnesses must attend the trial in the presence of the accused. So, kind of straightforward here. So, first off, unbiased juries. Yes, you're supposed to be tried by a jury of your peers. Legal teams can object to certain jurors based on basically it's kind of like an arbitrary set of criteria. They might excuse. I myself was excused from a case that dealt with aggravated sexual assault on a minor, and they said, "Can is there anybody here that can't be unbiased?" And I automatically put my hand up. In the past, there have been crimes committed where the juries were very biased. If you ever study the Emmett Till case of a young teenage black boy, teenager killed. He was down south visiting from Chicago, and 2 white men killed him for allegedly whistling at a white woman. And the jury was certainly biased. It was an all white, all male jury. What else we got going on? Witnesses being present. There are certain extenuating circumstances where a witness does not have to present themselves, usually out of fear of repercussion. Although having the witness take the stand, you can have sworn witness testimony presented. And as far as what was the other one here? Sorry, it's been a long day, folks. Legal counsel. We've all seen cops. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you can't afford one will be appointed to you. Now, there have been some videos that have been done about the public defender's offices being overworked. It wasn't until this was kind of a really not so well known right, in that law officers kind of assumed people knew their rights. It wasn't until the Miranda case. It was the reason why we call them the Miranda rights, or have you been Mirandaized? It actually has to do with the fact that people were not informed of what their rights were. So that's the 6th. And then what we got going on is the 7th guarantees a trial by jury in civil cases for anything valued at more than $20. And then we have Amendment 8 prohibits excessive bail and cruel or usual punishment. Now, the issue of bail has come up in some states where the bail system is rather broken, in that first off, there really isn't a chart that you can go to and say, okay, you're assault 4, this is what your bail is. Usually it's left up to the judge's discretion. In some instances, a prosecutor can ask that bail be withheld. Now, the other issue that we have going on is the fact that in some states it's been determined that the bail system is unconstitutional because it creates inequality under the law. Now, before anybody jumps on my ass and says, no, it doesn't, just follow the logic here. If you have 2 people, and we won't, just 2 people, we won't bring skin color in or anything like that, so just 2 people. Person A gets caught, person B gets caught, it's the same crime. If we offer person A bail and they could afford it, and person B can't afford it, it creates an inequality under the law, and if it's unequal, it's therefore unconstitutional. There have been many cases where people can't afford bail. They have to stay in county. They get their, until they get their court date. It affects housing, affects jobs, it can affect school. It has been proven to be an ineffective tool within the court system. Now, the other detail about this is in cases with people who have money to burn. If you look at what's the dude's name? I think it's Fred Durst, not Limp Bizkit. He belongs in jail, but that's a story for another day. No. This was a rather very well-to-do guy who had been accused of a couple murders, and basically he knew. He goes, look, I'm going to pay the bail, and I'm going to bounce. And that's what he did. So it does create an inequality under law as far as cruel and unusual punishments. This gets brought up anytime we talk about the death penalty. My own personal feelings aside on the death penalty, while I do believe that there are certain cases where you got them dead to rights, there are a great number of cases that we've actually proven years later that the people were innocent, and if you could bring them back from the dead, that's a hell of a party trick. But the issue of cruel and unusual punishment, anytime we talk about the death penalty in and itself, is that by spirit of the word of the Bill of Rights, is killing somebody cruel / and or unusual. Did they mean cutting off a finger, branding somebody, like they used to do, like if you were a pirate, they'd brand you with a P or an M for murder, or floggings, things like that. But with the death penalty, and there's some people who take comfort in knowing that the death penalty exists. Unfortunately, when you look at the history of the death penalty, it really has no deterrent on crime. And again, it's one of those issues where when you stop and take a look at it, yes, there is a human, you hit me, I hit you back reaction. Somebody you love was killed, you want that kind of biblical vengeance, if you will. But people have made the argument, first off, from a constitutional standpoint, we can't do this because we view it as being cruel and unusual. If you want to get into the biblical stance, which I don't do very often, the Bible specifically says thou shalt not murder. It's been broadened into kill, but really thou shalt not murder. So some states have moved away from it from the constitutional standpoint. Some people brought it away from just a human rights standpoint. The fact that our previous administration was ramping up executions, that puts us in the same family, same category as like Saudi Arabia, where they behead people for being witches and warlocks. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. So there's the human rights aspect of it, there's the constitutionality aspect of it, there's the religious aspect of it, but something that people don't take into a lot of consideration is the financial burden that seeking the death penalty puts on people. So, for example, you can look up this serial killer, Charles Ning. His last name is Ng. That's how you spell it. My dude was just a piece of human shit, if there ever was one. Him and his partner, I won't go into too many details of his crimes, but him and his partner were caught. They had a massive U-Haul truck full of evidence against these guys. You couldn't fart in this thing because they had DNA, pictures, movies. I mean, you name it, they had it. This should have been a slam dunk case. But Charles Ning, what he did was he used some legal tactics to delay his trial. And his trial at the time was something along the lines of $20 million before they even got to the trial. Because what he would do was request a new lawyer. The lawyer would want a continuance, and they would keep moving it down the road. But the cost for executing somebody, because once you get that conviction, it automatically goes to the appeals court. And I believe it costs about $2-3 million to execute somebody when you bring in all the court costs. As of late, the chemicals being used for the lethal injection, which now is being phased out, and the states are having to revert back to either the electric chair. I think the electric chair or hanging, I think they want to bring back, because the chemicals that they use, they can't get anymore, because the chemicals were being used or being manufactured in countries that they themselves don't have the death penalty. So there was just a little bit of a weird disconnect. And the last story I'm going to share with you folks is when you're calling for the death penalty, just because the system says they're guilty doesn't necessarily make them guilty. Look at the case of the Central Park Five. That has come into light as of late. It's been a long day, dude. So the story behind this was there was a woman jogging in Central Park, and she was viciously attacked. and the cops had rounded up 5 teenagers. There's a Netflix series about this, and I'll kind of spare you the details here. But these 5 teenagers were during the prosecution of it. Their rights were violated, and a little known real estate developer by the name of Donald Trump took out a full page ad in the I think two of New York City's most famous newspapers, saying that these little bastards need to be executed. I'm paraphrasing here, and we got to take back the streets. We got to be tough. Well, here's the thing: the 5 teenagers involved in this, I just kind of buried the lead there. They were teenagers. You're not eligible for the death penalty. That's unconstitutional. It's kind of a weird thing. You have to be an adult to qualify, no matter how violent the crime. And people were calling this out. They're saying, "Wait a minute, we can't execute minors." So there you go. There's your story for the day. Hope you enjoy this, and I'll catch you later. So everybody have a great night. See you. Oh, actually, I forgot this part. The 5 big bad teenagers who were accused of attacking that white woman. Yeah, turns out they didn't do it. There's this thing called DNA evidence, and there was none of these 5 people involved. As a matter of fact, there was this guy was a dirtbag. He was already serving time, and he goes, "Wait, those who? No, that one was mine." They tested the DNA. That's who the attacker was. So again, it kind of brings up that issue of, if you kill if we send you to jail wrongfully, we could let you out. Our bad, sorry. Please go forth and be happy. If you're dead, I know Easter's coming up, but that's a hell of a party trick. So there you go. Everybody have a great day. See you when I see you.